Consumer spending in the App Store had its first ever decline in 2022, and it was down 2%. That is the big headline from Data.ai's State of Mobile 2023 report. Are we at peak spending on mobile apps? Is it all downhill from here? I don't think so. Let's dive into that report and find out why. Here are the major findings. And first, overall app downloads are up 11% year over year. And then next, you can see this is the App Store spend, down 2%. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. And daily time spent is up about 3% to about 5 hours a day. And then overall hours is at 4.1 trillion, which is about a 9% increase over last year. So overall, downloads are increasing and time in apps is increasing, which is great news for app developers. So usage is up. I don't know how good that is for the human race, but hey. Those are the big picture findings, but let's dive into this drop in spending that got all the headlines, right? This minus 2%, because there's two big reasons why I don't think this is a big deal. To illustrate my first point, let's look at the top markets in mobile, and you can see they separate the first three and then the long tail, because China, the US, and Japan are so much bigger than the others that it made sense to separate them out. So 2022 is the pink bar, 2021 is the light gray bar in the middle. So you can see China actually grew in 2022, but most of the other countries had a slight drop, which is what led to that overall minus 2% number. But I want to point out the crazy growth on pretty much every country from 2020 to 2021. And if anyone remembers like financial markets in 2021, everything was inflated, right? Stocks and crypto were going nuts. House prices were insane. Like everything got inflated, like everything was a bubble. So what I'm trying to point out is you see a big jump from 2020 to 2021. And then even though 2022 is a decrease from 2021, maybe it's a little bit of a return to normalcy as the world is hitting these like economic headwinds. That's the first reason why I don't think this drop in spend is such a big deal. The second reason is that the drop actually came from games. As you see in these two charts with games on the left and then non-game apps on the right, you can see the non-game apps revenue continues to increase at a pretty good rate, even though discretionary spending, which is the pink bars, those are going down. As the world has had a tough time economically over the past year, a lot of layoffs, yeah, maybe you're not buying as many gems in your favorite mobile game. So it makes sense for game spending to go down, whereas the non-game apps are still going strong. Now, this last slide that I wanted to show you is hopefully a bit of inspiration. Here's the apps that made $1 billion last year, 100 million, and 10 million last year. Now look, I'm not saying us indie developers out there watching are gonna build an app that makes $1 billion, 100 million, 10 million. Stick with me here, we're gonna extrapolate these numbers. So yeah, 1 billion, 100 million, 10 million, probably out of reach, but let's keep going with that. Is 1 million out of reach? Maybe 500,000 out of reach? What about 100,000 a year out of reach? So to get estimates on those numbers, we can look at like the step change from 1 billion to 100 million to 10 million. You can see it's roughly a multiple of 10. Again, back of the napkin math, we're not getting super exact, but just to give estimates and to inspire you. So if we take the next step change from 10 million down to 1 million, well, now we're probably talking 5,000 to 6,000 apps are making $1 million a year. Okay, but that's still kind of a really high number. Let's take the next change, go from 1 million to 100,000. You can see we're kind of like dividing by 10 each time. So we'll multiply that 5,000 to 6,000 number by 10. So now that's 50 to 60,000 apps are maybe making 100K a year, and then maybe chop that in half to 20 to 30,000 apps are making 500K a year. Again, rough numbers. If you disagree with my methodology here, feel free to correct me in the comments of why this might not be correct. I wanted to share this slide because to me it showed like what was possible and attainable. Now don't get it twisted. I'm not saying making an app that makes $1 million a year or even 100,000 a year is easy. Of course it's gonna take hard work, tons of effort, be smart, make a great product, probably a little bit of luck. I am in no way saying it's going to be easy, but to me it showcased that like it's not unattainable, like it's possible if there's 50 to 60,000 apps that hit that $100,000 a year mark, and that $100,000 a year mark to $1 million for an indie dev, like it's a pretty nice living when you're just building your own product. So like I said, it's not gonna be easy, but I hope seeing these numbers like inspired you, like it inspired me, and that's why I wanted to share it. And if you are gonna build your own product, you're gonna need to handle subscriptions or in-app purchases, and there are a ton of edge cases that make building this on your own a headache. So I recommend you let the pros do it, and that brings me to today's sponsor, Glassfy. Glassfy is a ridiculously flexible app revenue management platform that helps engineering and growth teams generate predictable revenue streams from their apps. Glassfy takes a platform approach with various solutions natively built in, like those subscriptions and in-app purchases I was talking about for iOS, Android, and web. I use them to implement that in Creator View, my app, and the setup was a breeze. It also has revenue growth tools such as rich analytics, paywalls, and redemption codes so teams can use data to make better decisions to generate revenue, all within the Glassfy platform. So whether you're adding revenue to an existing app or replacing your current setup, Glassfy will help engineering and growth teams deliver better on their revenue growth goals.